Neural circuitry is very powerful and very plastic. It can be modified, and it's very context dependent, but it's not stupid. And when you lie to yourself about whether or not an experience is actually good for you or not, your brain knows.
There's no fooling your brain about good or bad habits, experiences, or thoughts. You simply can't trick it. This means that your actions and choices matter more than you realize. Dr. Huberman wants to help you understand how to keep things running smoothly in your life so that you can become the best version of yourself. Embrace this knowledge and use it to shape your future. Because every decision and thought that you have can truly make a difference.
And for those of you that are coming to this conversation thinking, gratitude practice, oh, that's kind of wishy-washy or woo, it's going to involve, putting your hand on your heart and feeling into all the amazing things that you happen to have, even when things are really terrible. That's not where we're going at all. The study involved having subjects listen to a story. The subjects are all listening to the same story, but those subjects are not listening to it together. They're not rounded up in a circle or all in a room. They're in separate rooms or entirely separate locations on the planet, or they are actually brought into the laboratory on separate days. What this study found is that different subjects listening to the same story undergo the same variation in heart rate. In other words, the gaps between their heartbeats start to resemble one another in response to the same story. Now, this is very interesting. This is a coordination of the physiology of the body in response to a narrative, a story, in different people. And yet when they line up the heart rates of these different people who listen to the story at completely different times, they find that those heart rates map onto one another almost identically.
When we listen to a story, a magical thing happens. Our heartbeats sync, connecting us and making us feel equal in our emotions. This powerful synchronization can give us a unique advantage over our bodies and feelings. By understanding and harnessing this connection, you can gain better control of your emotions and improve your life. Dive into this video and you'll learn all that there is to know about this amazing phenomenon and how it can help you on your journey of self-discovery.
What this study really starts to point to is that there are specific approaches that any of us can take in order to really rewire our nervous system such that we are calmer if we want to be calmer in certain circumstances, that we are more responsive in certain circumstances if that's our goal. In my mind, there was no reason why the results had to be this way. Two people listen to the same story. Why should their heart rates be almost identical to the same story? Very, very interesting, and points to the power of narrative and story in coordinating our physiology. And this is something powerful that we can leverage.
We have the incredible power to reshape our nervous system, boosting our abilities and taking full control of our bodies and emotions. By rewiring our minds, we can unlock our potential and master key areas of our lives. Embrace this journey of self-improvement and you'll find new ways to overcome challenges, grow, and succeed. It's time to tap into that hidden strength within you and transform your life into the extraordinary adventure that you deserve.
Performing a gratitude practice twice or 3 times or even just once a week can lead to a pervasive, a long-lasting impact on subjective well-being. People report feeling happier, more meaning, joy, even awe for their life experience, simply in response to adding a gratitude practice. A regular gratitude practice can provide resilience to trauma in 2 ways. It can provide a reframing and resilience to prior traumatic experiences, so buffering people against the negative physiological effects and psychological effects of earlier trauma, but also inoculating them in many ways to any traumas that might arrive later in life. It's actually accomplished by shifting the way that the fear and defense networks in the brain actually function. The other thing that a gratitude practice does is it's been shown to benefit social relationships, but not just for the relationship in which you express gratitude, right? So on the face of it, you might think, okay, if I express gratitude for somebody over and over, then I'm going to feel better about that person. And indeed, that is one effect of a gratitude practice that's called a pro-social or intersocial gratitude practice. But There are now several studies, recent studies in good journals, pointing to the fact that a regular gratitude practice can also enhance one's social relationships across the board, in the workplace, at school, with family, in romantic relationships, and even one's relationship to themselves, which is really what the subjective feelings of well-being are. So it's clear to me that an effective gratitude practice has an outsized effect on many, many aspects of mental and physical health. And for those of you that are coming to this conversation thinking, gratitude practice, oh, that's kind of wishy-washy or woo, it's going to involve, putting your hand on your heart and feeling into all the amazing things that you happen to have, even when things are really terrible. That's not where we're going at all. Equally important is to understand that the neurochemical, the anti-inflammatory, and the neural circuit mechanisms that gratitude can invoke are equally on par with some of the effects of pharmacology, of things like high-intensity interval training and exercise, and other things that we think of as kind of more potent forms of self-intervention. So if you are of the mindset that a gratitude practice is kind of weak sauce, buckle up, because the data actually point to the fact that a gratitude practice is a very, very potent way in which you can steer your mental and physical health in positive directions, and that those effects are very long-lasting. Many of you have probably heard of the medial prefrontal cortex, because this is the area of the brain that is involved in planning and in deep thinking and evaluation of different types of experiences, past, present, or future. So I think it's worth us taking a step back and asking, what does the medial prefrontal cortex really do, right? How could this one piece of neural real estate that we all have right behind our forehead, how could that be involved in so many different things? And the reason it can be involved in so many different things, and the reason it's especially important for gratitude, is that medial prefrontal cortex sets context, okay? It sets context, and it literally defines the meaning of your experience. You have a number of circuits deeper in your brain that simply create some sensations, or they allow you, I should say, to perceive certain sensations. Let's use the example of cold exposure. If you were to deliberately place yourself into an ice bath, it would be uncomfortable, even if you're adapted to cold and so forth. The discomfort is non-negotiable. However, if you are doing it because you want to, or because you have knowledge that there are particular health benefits, the medial prefrontal cortex can then control areas of your deeper brain, like the hypothalamus, to positively impact the neurochemicals that are released into your system. You'll still get a lot of adrenaline by getting into the ice bath, but the fact that you are doing this deliberately, and your knowledge that you are making the choice, that it's you that's deciding to put yourself through this discomfort, has been shown to create a very different and positive effect on things like dopamine, on things like anti-inflammatory markers in your immune system, etc., compared to if someone pushes you into an ice bath, or if you are doing it because someone insists that you do it and you really, really don't want to. So there's a very subtle distinction here. It's just the distinction of motivation and desire, or lack of motivation and being forced into something. Medial prefrontal cortex is the knob, or the switch rather, that can take one experience and allow us to frame it such that it creates positive health effects, and the exact same experience framed as something we don't want to do or that we are forced to do can create negative health effects. Gratitude is a mindset that activates prefrontal cortex, and in doing so sets the context of your experience such that you can derive tremendous health benefits. The medial prefrontal cortex has a tremendous capacity to set context, and it does that beautifully with respect to gratitude. But you can't simply lie to yourself. You can't simply say, oh, well, every experience is a learning experience, or a terrible thing happens, oh, good. I'm just going to say good, and that your body will react as if it's good for you. That's a myth. We have the opportunity to reframe and set context on our experiences, but that requires a very specific set of practices. We can't simply lie to ourselves or quote unquote fake it until we make it. Neural circuitry is very powerful and very plastic. It can be modified, and it's very context dependent, but it's not stupid. And when you lie to yourself about whether or not an experience is actually good for you or not, your brain knows. I hate the word hack, like, oh, it's a dopamine hack or it's a serotonin. I don't like the word hack because A, it's disrespectful to hackers who do a real thing.
Yeah.
And B, a hack, it implies that it's some sort of trick that you're kind of gaming the system. You know, what works is mechanism, right? Biological mechanisms were designed to work and they were selected to work under variable conditions. And as you know, and I know, and we have great appreciation for the fact that the nervous system was designed to be an adaptive machine so that you don't have to sleep 8 hours every night. You can do this thing. And things like gratitude allow you to tap into chemical resources. And that's not a hack. The fact that being grateful for something external to the event happens to release serotonin and have a certain soothing effect, or dopamine and give you more epinephrine and let you go further, that's not a hack. That's actually what allowed the human machine to evolve to the point that it is now.